Welcome, everybody. We are here. We are back. Another episode of Cryptrix I've Been Thinking. And I just want to take the time right at the beginning here to thank all of yous for joining us once again, joining me once again, and for a great interview. I love having you guys here, part of it, and hearing your feedback. I get lots of great feedback from you guys about the guest I get on and the topics that we are covering. And I really do appreciate that, guys. I wouldn't have a show if it was you if it wasn't for you guys coming and checking it out and giving me your thoughts. So thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate everybody that joins me for these interviews, and I hope you take a lot from them. It gets you starting to think, gets you starting to look into some of the topics that we cover, and so I hope I am doing that. And if I am, then I consider that a success. And I really do enjoy doing these interviews. As you guys know, I learn so much from my guest and the topics that we cover. So, once again, I always say I have another amazing guest lined up. You can definitely find his work at the One Great Work Network, YouTube. You can find him on YouTube. His channel is Rejuvenation. Lots of great stuff there. Also on TikTok, you can find him there at Empowered Youths. So I hope you guys check that out. And he is responsible for a lot of amazing content. Some of the videos that he has done that I have enjoyed in the past is Why is Truth So Hard to Hear? This is the season of sacrifice. You are not a child. You're responsible. And the one that I want to talk about this evening, one that was an amazing interview video that made me want to get him on for this interview, Sorcerers of Hollywood. And my guest is none other than Daniel Shane Maddox. And I just want to go ahead and take the time to welcome him now to the show. Welcome, Shane. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing well, Rick. Pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you so much for being here. I'm very excited to speak with you. As we were talking off air, I saw that I watch all of your videos. I really enjoy some of them they're just quick little videos, but they make a big impact, I think. And I think that those are a lot of the times that's the way I think to go with people's attention spans these days, is that you got to kind of hit them quick and hard and give them something to think about. But I also think that there's a good thing for a little bit long former interviews like I do. I think that people that want to look into the stuff we talk about will take the time, and that is my hope. And when I saw your video, as I was saying, on the Sorcerers of Hollywood, this is something that I've talked about on my show, on my radio show, and I saw you go off on it, like just get into that and start breaking down what is happening around the world with Hollywood and how they are capturing people's attention. And I think when they do this, it's by design. They want to kind of keep people away from looking in on themselves and doing the work on themselves. They want to get them disconnected from nature and all of the things that I talk about. So I wanted to get you on to just kind of break down what is going on in Hollywood. So let us know, give us your thoughts here on this, because I'm looking forward to hearing this.
Sure. Well, the video you're referring to, I made as a live stream on my TikTok. And basically, like so many of my things, I'll just think of one thing, one subject, and then I'll start a rant. And because I spend so much of my time absorbing information and working through it, for me, it's like, I won't say it's easy, but because I'm so passionate about it, because this is such a necessary thing, because I do know what the difference is between right and wrong, and because I do know what the difference is between reality and the illusion, I have to speak. I have to bring words to it. So this is the opposite of what Hollywood's job is. Their job is to enforce the illusion. Their job is to enforce the unreality. And so it's to turn you against that which you experience in your own life. That's Hollywood's job. At the base level, if they can do nothing else, it's just to prove to them and to the people who back them, because Hollywood is a business, and it's a business model based on distraction. They need to get you distracted. And what they distract you from are the important things. Now, they do a great job at incorporating the things that are important. And in the beginning of Hollywood, they really had to have the vast majority of that, because people weren't as stupid. They weren't as dumbed down. And let's just be honest, people are dumbed down. If you look at your grandparents and you talk to them and what they're capable of and what their parents were capable of, and you look at yourself and your children and you just see just the capability plummeting, and the connection to nature and self-sufficiency, and the focus on family being you know, key then, but now like very limited. And in fact, the family is being attacked at all points. And this is the point of what I'm saying, is that they attack the structures of unity. They need disunity. So everything that they show, like one of Hollywood's favorite things to do is to hate on men. Men are idiots.
Yep.
Men are just stupid animals. You know, oh, zug zug. Like, yeah, we hit a hammer, we bring home the food, but the woman is always superior, and she has every justification to dolt on her husband and to say that he's an idiot and and this is just one example. And why is this good? Why is this powerful? Because if they can drive a wedge between men and women, the family, between all the structures of our own unity, then we're not in unity. And what's the oldest rule of Sun Tzu? Divide and conquer.
Right.
We break apart our enemies so that they're not as one. And when it's like, say what you want about America, but they did a lot of things right, and they said a lot of things like "United we stand, divided we fall." That is absolutely correct. And Rick, do you feel united right now?
No, not at all.
No, it would be crazy to feel that you were reunited. I don't know what world you're living in if you felt that way. And that's the whole point. And it's not just selling an idea. It's not just, oh, we're going to show them something that's fake and they're going to believe it. It's not just as simple as that. It is literally the harmonics, it's the frequencies, it's the flicker rate. They have scientists working around the clock, and they don't need to be nefarious. As with the military, as with science, they're compartmentalized. They don't know what they're doing. Sure, there's facilities where they certainly know what they're doing, and they don't care that they're hurting other people because they're getting paid. They're psychopaths. Either primary, they were born that way, or secondary, they were molded, shaped to be that way. Right. And in the end, it makes no difference. If you have set your course in life on the ship of not giving, a damn about anyone, eventually you're going to be incapable of it. And that's just who you are now. And so I got really passionate about it. And I said, with Will Smith, that whole thing.
That was crazy. That was crazy how that captured the world.
And how everyone was talking about it instantly. Yep. And notice how quickly your focus can be on the coronavirus or Ukraine. And instantly, everybody is faced, like they turned the camera to something completely different. Mm-hmm. And the focus was shifted so completely that people, because they've been programmed to watch televisions, and I call them black mirrors, they're scrying mirrors.
I agree.
They are tools of sorcery. And when I say the Sorcerers of Hollywood, I'm not like saying an allegorical example. I'm not joking. I'm literally saying these people are manipulating millions of people intentionally for ill will. And they're doing it better and better all the time. And the more that you invest your time in Hollywood or celebrity gossip and celebrity worship, these things, you will continuously throw out your ability to determine right from wrong, reality from illusion, and what's important versus what's not.
That's so true. And I'm thinking, because you brought up Will Smith, Daniel, I'm thinking also of the Amber Heard and Johnny Depp trial. That everybody around me was talking about that for weeks. That was all they cared about. They knew so much about those two people and what was going on in the trial. But then you start asking them about any topic that really matters. When you start diving into, like, you bring up natural law or anything, nature, they have no idea. But then it's amazing how they can learn everything they need to know about these two actors and actresses in the court case. That means nothing. I always tell my friends, and I'm like, why put all your energy into this trial and then what happened with Will Smith and all these other distractions when it doesn't mean anything? It doesn't add anything. It doesn't teach you anything. It's really weird to me how people. I just couldn't do it. I don't understand how people get sucked into that as deeply as they do.
And the other thing is then the Ghislaine Maxwell trial, a trial that literally mattered very much.
Exactly.
Absolutely no coverage. No one was allowed, no media was allowed in there. No, there was nothing discussed.
Yep.
That's the one that we want to know every little dirty detail. We want to know all the flight logs to Epstein's Island. We want to know exactly who, when, where, why, and what money changed hands with who. And then, oh, all of a sudden, the world would be a very different place if key people were in jail, if key people no longer got away with murder. And this is the thing. It's a cult mockery. So it's that which is hidden. That's what a cult means, mockery. So they can show you something which looks good, looks cool, but it's actually mocking you. You actually believe this? You actually follow this? Like my friend was showing me the trial, trying to he does this. He puts this in my front of my face and I'm like, I can feel your soul melting. Just paying attention, having any interest in this, I can feel you disintegrating. And I feel like I'm disintegrating because you think that I'm interested in this.
Right.
You think that I care at all about this. And I would tell people that and they would be like, "But isn't it Eileen, I love Johnny and I love, and it what's the word for it? It's pathetic because the things that really are threatening our lives and our families and each other is being totally ignored and superseded by inane, pointless drivel, and they don't see it. And for those of us who have two brain cells to rub together to see it, it's just so aggravating. And if you're in tune and you're spiritually aware, then you won't destroy that person. Hopefully you'll be able to break it down to them in a way that they'll understand and to show them, to shine light on how sad their interest in the pointless is and move on or not. But we all have to get better at discerning who truly is lost in the matrix and is not worth saving. It's like in the Matrix when Morpheus tells Neo, we never free a mind that's reached a certain age because they just won't be able to handle it. They're too invested in the lie. They're too invested in the illusion. And to break them out of it would be less helpful, more dangerous to them and others.
That's true. And you think a lot of people in the world, I believe many people are there at that point. Do you believe that too?
Yes. I, okay, here's the thing. A lot more people are rooted in reality because if there really were more than 50% of the human race invested in the lie totally, then we would already be in oblivion. It would already be over because um the battle between good and evil is always like a 51-50.
Yep.
It's always like this. If it ever becomes 52-48, it's over because like the tide will have totally fluxed. And I made this point in a video I made yesterday, or actually this morning, that evil, it's not capable of existing in the physical form as a pure energy. It
Right.
only exists in the elemental, energetic, spiritual form, right? Because if true, pure evil were to incarnate, it would be so corrosive to reality itself, it would just destroy itself. And this is why the New World Order is doomed to fail, regardless of whether we lose or win. And it's comforting to me to know that evil can never really win, but it can still destroy everything that we care about. It can still destroy all of reality. Good would never do that if good won. Good would bring everything together in perfect balance.
Right.
And evil would take everything over in total chaos and carnage, and then it would all just completely fold in on itself. I called it the Dark Phoenix. The Dark Phoenix forcibly annihilates everything and incorporates it in itself, and then it collapses in and it rebirths as good because it has no choice because it's burned out all the things in the universe. Whereas the positive light Phoenix only takes what is within itself, emulates, and then burns away into ashes, and then is born again without destroying the things around it.
That's
So,
great.
but the New World Order and all their manifestations, and you can call that whatever you want. and we call them the dark Illuminati, the dark archons. We call them the powers that should not be.
Yeah, I call them dark psychologists because I think that is what we're dealing with. I think we're dealing with people that know humanity's the way humanity thinks and the way our brains work so well that they can just play us. They just know how we're going to react. I think they know how to steer humanity, and from what I can see, they're doing a beautiful job of it.
They are, and they don't care. They can't care. They can't care for several reasons. Either A, because like I said, they're psychopaths and they're literally the functions within their body that allows them to care are broken,
Yep.
or they can't care they can't show any care because all the other agents around them would kill them, would murder them. Like care to them is a sickness. If you have the ability to empathize and to care, you're the weakest link in their chain of evil. You cannot be allowed to have any position of authority or say so if you even have that ability, which is why the people at the very top are the sickest puppies in existence.
Right.
And I've said it before and I'll say it again. People want to project their own morality on these people. Oh, they wouldn't do that because I wouldn't do that. No, wrong. They will do whatever is necessary to continue their dark work. Their work of, and I call it dark work because people call them the Illuminati, but that's not correct. Illuminati means to illuminate, the
Right.
illuminated ones, right? They're not illuminated at all. Their
No.
job is to obfuscate the light. Their job is to take the source of creation, shroud it in their own magic, and then convince all those in creation that they are God, that they are the ones that are creating the light and holding the light. This is the Lucifer energy, the light bearer, the one that is convinced that it is the source instead of the reflection, or instead of part of it. And there's a lot to unpack in that whole
For sure.
arena as
Yeah.
well. Um, and so the primary thing for people to notice every time they look at a television is exactly what you're being told. They're being very honest with you with what they want you to think. They're being very honest with you that, they may say, oh, we're independent news, trusted news, the most trusted name in news.
Yep.
It's like, it's the inversion of reality. It's like the ministry of truth, you know? It's actually the ministry of lies. It's like the Patriot Act. It's the Unpatriot Act.
Yep.
They always sell you with the words that this is what we think, about you. It's mockery because anybody who accepts it as patriotic, anybody who accepts it as the ministry of truth instead of the ministry of lies and propaganda and the ministry of, deception is an idiot, is already their slave, is already under their thrall. It's a thrall state. You are a fanatic cult member who will be whipped into doing whatever it is the cult requires of you. And what is it that the cult requires of you? Total obedience. I tell you, we're always at war with Southeast Asia. 1 minute, the next minute, we've never been at war with
Yep.
Southeast Asia. And your job is to repeat what I said exactly as I said it when I said it. And then when it changes the next minute, you'll have no memory of the previous statement, of the previous state. And so long as you can do that, you are safe because you're a perfect thrall. There is no before, there is no after. There's only now and what you are being told to do. And Will Smith slapping Chris Rock was one of those Men in Black moments
With that little
where,
device.
yeah, you got flashed just right there. Oh, Ukraine? Oh, the pandemic? Oh, the scamdemic? Oh, all this stuff not being real and illusion, and we misled you. And there's plenty of proof coming out now. Oh, flashed. Will Smith. Bam. We're in a different reality now. We control your perception. And people like to argue that this isn't possible, that this would take a huge collusion of people and all that. And it's just not true. It's just not true. And because when you're afraid, your logic and reasoning skills plummet.
Exactly.
You no longer have the ability to discern correctly because you're afraid. You
And
will
I
go along. to get along.
Yeah, and I tell people that all the time, Daniel, that they keep us in that state of fear because they don't want us consciously thinking. If you're in that reactive state constantly, which is all that I tell people, that's all they do is pump fear at people, and they always got another fear bullet in the chamber. So when the one fear is over, there's another one right behind it. They load that up, they get, and then people buy into it. So it's always this fear. You're in that fear. You're reacting. You're not consciously thinking. And I think people have to realize that, like that, it's always fear. It's always fear that they're pumping on you in some form or another.
And look up the word duress. We
Good
are
point.
under duress. We are under constant state of threat, always. And when that happens, it's called Stockholm syndrome. Okay? Helsinki syndrome. Like they said in Die Hard 1, people are caught and they don't know how to react except for to give up their power, because if they do anything outside the lines of their captor's desires, then the punishment comes. Oh, you 2 weeks to flatten the curve. There's 2 years to flatten the
Yeah, I
curve.
remember that. Yeah.
You know, two more constitutional amendments to flatten the curve. Two more raping and pillaging of all the things that you knew and loved. And it bit by bit, it's the frog boiling in the pot. And for you and I, everything around us supports what we're saying.
Hmm.
Literally everything, every action that the governments of the world do, and they do this in concert. That's the other thing that people can't wrap their heads around.
You're
Oh, well,
right.
how could this be a conspiracy if literally every country has done this? Literally, no, every country hasn't done this. There's been some exceptions like Sweden and a few countries in Africa whose presidents all ended up dead,
Yep.
in a tidy time. And then the vaccines came in after after they had their accidents.
Yep.
So that's how close to the New World Order we are. And we're at the precipice. As Mark Passio says in his shows, it's like it's the moment of choice
Yes.
where you have to make the decision. Are you going to work towards the freedom of humanity, or are you not? And if you're not, what degree are you not going to? Because there's a difference between not doing something and going, balls to the walls in the opposite direction, where you reckless abandon and just say, not only am I going to not help prevent Armageddon, I am going to throw all my chips into the systems of control and deception which ensure it. And then you have to admit to yourself either you are a terrible, evil person, or that you're just so lost and afraid that you'll do whatever you're told. But you have to come to that conclusion. You have to be able to look at yourself at least in the mirror if you want to keep any shred of your soul. Because there's too many people who spend zero time or very little time going within themselves and really checking in with who they are and what they're doing. Okay, I'm doing A, B, and C. What are the true outcomes of A, B, and C? They can't extrapolate what they're doing into what else is happening in the universe and what else is happening to their friends groups, to their families, to their associates, and all the people in their community.
Hmm.
And this is because people over all the decades that Hollywood has been in existence, they have continuously eroded all senses of unity with the community, with unity with your family, and with just being able to go within in general. They want that erased. They want you lost in your head. They want you lost in, oh, should I have said that? Political correctness, aka mind control. Oh, I didn't use the right pronoun. Oh, I didn't, I misgendered. All these things are now preventing people from having any clear thought, any ability to have open conversation because they're afraid. They're
Yep.
afraid of being called out. They're afraid of being othered. They're afraid of being targeted by the system, by the community, And it's taking the support structures of community and weaponizing them against the community itself by making people have to decide whether or not they're going to virtue signal. If I don't virtue signal, then this. It's an if then statement where whether or not you virtue signal will determine your level of participation in the people's lives around you.
Yep.
And very quickly this becomes such a corrosive element that people, it's like North Korea, it's like China during the Cultural Revolution, it's like Germany when the rise of the Nazis. Oh, I know you love her, but she's a Jew. You can't love her. You can't be that ignorant of what's going to happen. She's about to be, arrested before they knew about what was really the dark intent. And so long as people feel comfortable having absolutely no understanding of history, history is doomed to be repeated. There's no way around that. And then people will say, "Oh, history is all a lie. It's written by the victors." To a large extent, yes. But if you are going to be one of those people that says everybody's an agent, everybody's with them, or no, there are no agents whatsoever, either way, you're wrong and you're trapped.
That's true. Yep. I've heard people say that.
And
Wow, that's so powerful. And it's true what you're saying too, Daniel, about the community, because now you even see them pushing to where it's a good thing to like if you see something bad in your community or something that you think is you deem as not correct or bad, report them. They're pushing that's a good thing, that if you see that where they want communities and families members, I've seen it in my own life, start turning on each other. And to me, it's just crazy how they don't. I try to say to people, you don't see what they're doing. They're tearing down everything that is truth and powerful. They're breaking, like you said, they're breaking down the family unit. They're breaking down a community unit. Then they're breaking down your connection with yourself. And then you're breaking down the connection with nature. It's such an evil thing they're doing. And I'm really shocked that people can't see it. And maybe they do see it and maybe they're just cowards and don't stand against it. But it's really shocking how they're trying to disconnect people. And like you said, and even with them changing the meaning of words now. Like now words, 20 years ago, words meant one thing, and now they mean something totally different. They're rewriting words and the meaning of words. And I love looking at the root of word, like the meaning of words, like where they came from. I got that from Mark Passio. And ever since I've been watching his work for years, I love doing that now. Finding where the word came from, what it means. And I do it on my show all the time. I'll tell people, this is what the word really means. This is where it comes from. And it's not being used in the way that it's meant. And people have no idea the power of the words they're speaking or what they even mean.
And the most interesting part about that for me is like, there's so many people that I meet that claim to be spiritual, that claim to be ascended or to be a conscious being. And then they out of hand reject any notion that words have power.
Huge power. Wow.
Yeah, but they reject it and they say, "Oh no, it's solipsism. It's relativity. There's no such thing as truth. Truth is relative." And words are just, things that we agree on, just like laws. And these are the same people who think that you crossed over an imaginary line and all of a sudden it's okay to rape and kill someone in the street because they weren't wearing their burqa. It's okay to throw acid on their face and then decapitate them in public because this is the United Arab Emirates or whatever it is. And then you go over an imaginary line and that's totally unacceptable. And in their mind, they can hold both of those ideas simultaneously without any problem.
Wow.
And you broach that subject with them and it's like, well, to each their own. And then that always makes me think the only thing for evil to survive or to thrive is for good people to do nothing.
I agree.
And that's exactly what's happening. People are saying, well, things are pretty good for me and my own around here.
Yep.
I don't need to step out of line. I don't need to go help these people, And it's like, okay, so you're admitting that the world is in a bad shape at least, but that you will do nothing at all or not even speak out against it, which is the bare minimum. And it's also one of the bare maximums, because when your truth, not your truth, there's only one truth. Truth is singular. And this is the thing that I constantly catch people like this.
Oh, I get into arguments over this one, Daniel, over the truth. They say, well, no, there's my truth. And I'm like, no, there's truth. What we mean your truth. Like, that's a good thing you're bringing up. Go ahead.
It's like saying that it's my son. It's like pointing at the sun and saying, oh, my son. No, that's your son. That's not my son. It's like you're trying to take ownership over something that that it belongs to no one and yet everyone. And that's what the truth is. And I love the tarot because, the tarot is that's the evolution of the word truth. The tarot, the taruth, the truth.
Yep.
And the reason that it's the truth is because it helps you to see into the infinite. It helps you to see beyond your mind, your conscious mind, and into the unconscious, into the infinite, into all the things that are being connected, but you don't see it. You can't see it because we are limited beings. We're infinite beings having a limited physical experience. And in that time, there are interests from both sides of the coin that want, you could see it as a polarity. All right. There's the negative pole and the positive pole. Both of them are reinforcing their reality because they have to, because that's their nature. And a lot of times that's how I look at good and evil. It's just their nature, right? But we can be conditioned to be more or less of whatever our nature is. And this is the balance. This is what it means to be an incarnated being. You both know the good and the bad. And goes back to the Garden of Eden, where they figured out what right and wrong was, and all of a sudden everything changed because they could no longer just live in a state of nescience where they didn't even have they didn't have the ability or the capacity to know what was right or wrong. And now that they do know what's right or wrong, now they have to act differently. They have to change everything about what they were doing because now they are responsible for what they do. When you have absolutely no idea or ability to know what right or wrong is, like a dog or like an animal, those beings are not responsible for what they do for to the same degree that we are. Because you can look at your dog and he knows that he's not supposed to eat the chocolate, and yet he jumps in there and eats the chocolate. And when you come home, he's cowering because he knows he screwed up, right? But that's very different than, the dog killed someone, and it's like, was the dog totally responsible for defending you, or it was attacking the house and wasn't malicious? That dog was following its defensive nature. And but if a person does it, and there's so many more variables because your level of consciousness determines your level of culpability.
Exactly. Yes.
And that's a hard pill to swallow for a lot of people. And it's just like the abortion issue, for instance, which is a huge one right now. It's like,
yes, it is a hot one too. I found that out the hard way.
is it or is it not a life? And what does that mean? It's like, are you comfortable with killing an ant and then saying, I didn't kill that thing? Or did you kill it? And did you kill it or did you murder it? Because to kill something or someone is to take their life justly. You had the right because they were attacking you. You attacked back and they died. So you killed them. But if somebody has something that you want and you take their life, you just murdered them. You took their life with undue violence, and you were not in the right. And this is a big thing. And oh, wait a minute, you can actually kill somebody rightly? And then in the same sentence, when they're in disbelief that anybody could have their life taken correctly, they came into my house for a home invasion and I put bullets in them and they died. Oh, you can't do that. Only the police are allowed to do that. Simultaneously, at the same time that they believe that, self-defense is not a right, or killing someone is not a right, there's these people who have a mystical ability to take life and not be responsible, i.e. doctors who do abortion, i.e. police officers who shoot people in the head for selling loose cigarettes. Whatever the issue is, whatever the argument is, because of the lifelong period of indoctrination to the black mirror in your room and now in your hand everywhere you go, always reaffirming the reality that they need to be reaffirmed for their world to come into fruition. It's always there. It's always right in your hands, always giving you notifications. You may have been in close connection with somebody who has coronavirus.
Yep.
It is a text message of instant fear. Easy. had no bearing in reality. You weren't around anybody with coronavirus. Doesn't matter. They sent you the text, and now you're going to go get tested, and everyone else is going to go test it, and it's going to go reaffirm the illusion of the pandemic, whether or not it was a real disease or not, whether or not viruses really cause diseases or not, or the terrain versus the viral theory or germ theory,
Mm-hmm.
whether or not any of that is real or not, it doesn't.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't
Because
matter.
they control the fear that you're feeling in your body,
Right.
and they control the outcome of that fear. They control the stimulus, problem, reaction, solution. They've created the problem. They monitor and manage the reaction and provide the solution. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. You have to hand it to them. You have to.
Yep. And it works flawlessly every time.
Well,
You know.
it has worked flawlessly. It has. But the cat is out of the bag. People are starting to get it. More and more people are starting to get it. And that's why we're at such a precipice, because the powers that should not be realize that if they don't get things solidified here in short order, then they could really lose control to a large degree of their project. Will they still be able to salvage it? Sure, because violence is always it's their go-to. They're ready to send in the drone swarms at any time and
Yep.
eviscerate every living thing on Earth. They're willing and able to do that. But that's not what they want to do, because in their mind, that will be a huge failure. That's like the last resort, because in their minds, as I've said before, they believe themselves to be gods. They want to be gods in this world and beyond. But if they fail to convince who they consider to be their slaves that they are indeed slaves and that they should go quietly into the night, it proves to them that they are not as powerful as they are. So, like the Luciferian creed, we will tell them what we're going to do blatantly, and if they do not disagree, if they do not oppose us, then they've consented. And if they can do that, then they've proven that they are sorcerers supreme. They've
Right.
proven that they can speak something into existence just as God does. And that is their great dark work. It is to subvert the work of the creator, God, the creator, creation, the goddess, whatever you want to say. I'm comfortable with all those terms. I am not, in no way religious, as we talked about before, and as Mark points out all the time. Religion, religio religare,
To tie
means
back.
to hold back, to tie down, to prevent from forward progress. Now, that can be positive and that can be negative. If you're running around raping and assaulting people all the time, and then religion helps you to stop doing that, then that's a good form of holding you down, holding you back from forward progress, because your forward progress is mayhem.
Right.
But the way it is almost always used is to hold people down and hold them back from forward progress into consciousness, into greater awareness of what they're doing and what they're not doing, and how both of those actions or inactions are affecting the world in the aggregate.
Right, that makes sense. And then I was gonna say, because you were talking about how they like to what they want. So what you're saying is that these elite, they're not ruled. Money is not their objective. I have discussions, and a lot of people think that this is all money, and that's what they're after. And I always tell them that they've got all them. They print their own money. Their money is, to me, money's not an objective for these people. And I like what you said. What they want to be able to do is play God, and for them, it's power. It has nothing to do with money. Money's it's a side effect of what they're doing, obviously, but they don't need. It's not a money thing. This is a power thing. They want
Yeah,
to
as
be
soon as
God.
we had fractional reserve banking, as soon as the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers and all these families got a hold of the printing press, as soon as they were able, I think Rothschild was famous for saying, "Give me the power of the money, and I don't care who makes the rules. I control the source of resources. I control the source of life." So anybody who says it's all about money is really lost. They're lost, and they're either in denial or incapable of understanding the true depths of our situation. Because obviously, if I have the ability to print all money, which, by the way, 80% of all US dollars have been printed in the last year and a half.
Yep.
So, and I often make this point, if they can just print unlimited money, what do they need taxes for? Why do they need to tax us? Why do they need to take what we create and use it for services which never seem to be getting done? There's potholes. I'm in Santa Cruz County right now in California. The roads here are abysmal.
Same here. They're
And they
horrible.
wanted to, they just tried to pass a resolution to spend $1 billion with a B for a choo-choo train. And my friend has been fighting it tooth and nail, saying, like, listen, you want to spend all this money that there's no hope of us ever attaining on this pipe dream, this train, and then for no reason whatsoever, when we can't have any of the services that we need. And people are like, no, we need the train, and they're lost in a Tom Hanks Christmas Carol film. The what is it, the something express,
Oh, I know. Okay.
Polar Express or something like that,
Right,
right?
right.
Where children are lost in a lollygagging world where they think literally the fairy, the tooth fairy is real, Santa Claus is real. They've bought in hook, line, and sinker to what Hollywood has been selling them since day one. And you get people like Edward Bernays, who masterminded women getting out of the house, smoking cigarettes and being independent and sticking it to the man, and got all them to start paying taxes, which, doubled the tax base. And that was a huge thing in breaking up the family. And they did it through advertising. They did it through the media. And once they realized how much and then this is like the thing with Betty Crocker or Susie Homemaker, I forget what it was. It's like they couldn't get women to sell this pancake
Yeah,
mix,
Betty Crocker, you're right.
and then until they figured out add an egg, and now all of a sudden women are now providing an egg to this product that they've bought, which is which is one of their greatest functions, providing the egg to create life, to perpetuate the species, and now selling like hotcakes,
That's amazing.
instantly, because they tied in to our genetic expression and desire for procreation, for sex, for love, for acknowledgement. They have tuned in their marketing campaigns to our very biology. And they've realized the power that brings. And they're not letting go, folks. They ain't letting go of that throttle. Son. It's theirs now. And unto death they will hold on to the reins of that ship, onto the reins of that vessel. Because if you haven't realized how much power corrupts people, then you truly have never had power in your life, which means you've been powerless your whole life. And it's a prime example of why you believe so full-heartedly the power structure. You believe the lies, you believe in authority because you've had no authority, you've had no power in your own life. And so you've subverted, you've believed to relinquish your power to the state, to the media, to your friend groups who are hook, line, and sinker caught up by, America's Next Top Model, all these television shows which go on for multiple seasons.
Yep.
And they can sell you on ideas over long periods of time. If I can control to a reasonable degree what images are floating around in your head daily, and then I know what other stimulus will activate that image, and that image then causes the correct response. There's so many things that happened during the Cold War. The research that was going into, they just picked up where the Nazis left off. Half of the research went to the United States and half went to Russia. And Russia really focused on the abnormal. They focused on the paranormal.
Right.
That's where all their research went into, a lot of it. And America went into the hardware, into the AI, and into the machinery and all that. And they basically worked together. They split up the tasks. And this is how far and how deep the conspiracy goes, because countries are just farms. They're branding operations. America is basically Coca-Cola, and uh, Russia is Pepsi. They're branded corporations which produce products, i.e., people who think a certain way, act a certain way, produce a certain something. And every nation has its niche, like Vietnam, Thailand, China, Asia. These are all like mindless consumers, very hardworking people. I'm not trying to disparage the Chinese or the Asians in any way like that, but the governments, the corporate board owners that control them certainly don't have their best interests at heart at all. And so they specialize. And Hollywood specializes in its niche, Bollywood specializes in its niche, and every other massive form of media specializes in its. And they all meet in the middle because they all are beholden to the World Bank. They're all beholden to the United Nations. They're all beholden to these centralized control mechanisms, which through one means or another have had the excuse to say, in an emergency, we own your entire organization.
Yep. You're right.
In an emergency, whatever was once yours is now ours, and we will decide when and where this emergency happens and for how long. When you accept this, you are accepting that you don't own anything. You don't control anything. And if you don't see that that makes you a slave, then you are hopelessly a slave because you believe you're free when clearly, if you understood the situation, you'd know you're not. So what's it going to be, guys? Are we going to step into the truth? Are we going to step into being really honest and open with ourselves? Because the point that I made in the video, which I really like, my video about the Sorcerers of Hollywood, is I did a thing where I acted like the adult.
That was very powerful.
And I was saying, like,
Wow.
you're going to be like me, boy. You're going to be exactly like me. And I was speaking down to the child, and the child's like, what? I mean, I don't want to do this. And you don't have a choice, boy. You'll do what I did. You'll do as I do. Because I won't have the family, I won't have the community looking down on me saying that I didn't crack the whip and make us all uniform, homogenous beings which hail to, the football team and whoever the corporate sponsor is for that week. Children are under full spectrum attack right now. And anybody who doesn't see that, with the children that are continuing to wear their masks for 2 years straight, anybody who thinks that's normal and that it won't and it hasn't irreparably caused harm to them at a soul level, because putting aside the fact that they're breathing their own filth day in and day out and being told you can affect everybody, you can't really die, you can't really get sick, and if you do, it'll be nothing because you're young and strong, but you're threatening everyone. Imagine the psych job that puts on you. Imagine the stress. Imagine whatever social skills you had before that are now erased and buried. And what I mean by this affecting the youth at a soul level is, look at all these quote unquote adults that are supposed to be here to save me, going along with the story that I'm evil, going along with the story that I need to be muzzled, going along and saying, yep, these children need to be shoved in boxes in plastic wrappers. And you saw the videos of the people in the jazz camp or whatever in those little plastic cages, and it's just absolutely ludicrous and wrong. And yet there are people waving the flag of this war on innocence so fervently. Their bloodlust for this new world order is just apparent to anybody who is aware, okay? And this is what I keep harping on. Are you aware? Are you awake? Or is your mind literally a tape running in CNN, running in Fox News, running in the White House correspondence desk? It's just a tape that they're playing, and it is literally going through your head because it's being projected into your consciousness, into your awareness, whatever, you want to say is awareness for you, but it clearly isn't. And there's a lot of people who will say, oh, Danny, you're just being overbearing. Danny, why can't you suit the tone to the actual situation? And it's like, Fool, if I could only scream at you as loud as the situation requires without, being arrested, without, you know, if I assaulted you right now, it wouldn't even be assault. It would be self-defense because your belief systems are sending the armies of darkness against me and my family and anyone else who's aware. They don't see the connection between the state and freedom and or lack thereof. It's like the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment being necessary to a state of freedom.
Yeah.
The state. They're not saying the state, the government. They're saying your actual ability to remain free is dependent on your ability to defend yourself. And as soon as the state has convinced you that only it can protect you, and in fact it is illegal and wrong for you to defend yourself, then we've reached a whole new level of tomfoolery, people. We've reached a whole new level of, oh my God, they are rewriting instinct itself. Your instinct for self-preservation is being eroded and in many cases erased. I've met more people than I care to remember who, as soon as I told them that, the right to self-defense is absolute, the
Yes.
the
Yeah.
amount of shock on their face. Like they thought I was a cool person. They thought, oh, Danny, yeah, we're getting along great. Soon as I said that, all feelings of joy and unity in their face just melted, and they looked at me like I was a mass shooter instantly. Because this is the
Really?
weaponization of the media against people who are self-sufficient, who know how to survive and thrive. These people are the enemy to the state because the state requires people to be helpless in order for them to be good little drones.
That's so true. And then if you do start looking into these things, you're labeled a conspiracy theorist. They start labeling you, which is crazy to me too. Anytime you start it's crazy how we have all of this information at our fingertips. Most people don't choose to even use it. I think and a lot of people say to me, Danny, like you preach about how technology is bad, and I'm like they kind of misword what I'm saying. Like, yes, using the wrong way, it's bad. The way that it's being used against us and humanity, I think, is a very evil thing that's going on. But we can also use this technology to learn and to do good things and put out good information and quality information that is going to help people. So yeah, is technology bad? It depends. That's a tough question. Like, it depends what you're using it for. And I just really puzzled how people have all this information. No point in history have we ever had the ability to pull up information like we do now, and so quickly. And it's really sad that people aren't taking advantage of that while we still can, because they are eliminating a lot of this information all the time and censoring it. But they're just not taking advantage of it, and they're just still buying into what the mainstream media is telling them, what the social engineers of the world are telling them, the mind controllers. It's really discouraging when you don't see people taking advantage of this. And I think that's something that has to happen. What do you
Yeah,
think?
I absolutely agree. To me, it's like we're on the Nebuchadnezzar. We're the crew of the Matrix. You, right now, listening, you and me, Rick, and everybody listening who's really actually invested in this talk, actually invested in the things that we're talking about. And invested, I mean by like they understand it or they're coming to understand it. Those people, we are crew of the Matrix. And even though they're fighting machines, they're using machines to hack the illusion,
Right.
to hack into the lie in order to get people out of it that are required to help free everyone else. That is your mission. That is your task. And that is not a made up thing. It's real. And I'm not saying that that Zion is literally out there and that we are in a machine world and stuff like that, although it may as well be true. The point is you have to take technology for what it's worth, use it for its greatest potential, because there's too many people out there who are using their $1,500 iPhone 13 Plus Pro,
Yeah.
Omega 12, 6, whatever it is. You add whatever number you want for shaking their booty. For doing the TikTok videos. Like that's how it started. That's what the thing was done. But I meet a lot of really amazing people on TikTok, much more than I find in almost any other place besides maybe like BitChute or Odyssey or other platforms. And like my phone, for instance, it's de-Googled. I go to a guy called Brax.me. He's the privacy guy on YouTube. Check him out. And he was he worked in technology, and he found out all these back doors that are built into the technology, and it goes straight to the NSA, straight to the CIA, through via Facebook and Google and all that. And he said, this is not safe. This is, even if these corporations didn't have ill intent, somebody else can use these back doors to hack your system, get your information. So what I do is I send my phone into them, and they hack it, and they cut all the ties to Google. So my phone can't use all these apps which require these backdoors. So I've limited myself in some respects. But then again, I have a Google Pixel 4 XL, so it shoots amazing video,
Hmm.
and the lighting is really good, right? And so then I use that, and then I bring it to my computer, and then through my computer I shoot it off to BitChute, to YouTube, to whatever else, right? And that helps me disassociate from my phone being my computer. It's not. My phone is a cell phone with amazing capacities, which I refuse to use because that's not its function. My phone has these abilities, and I choose not to use them to the extent that it is capable of doing, because I know that I need to use that phone to make my videos,
Hmm.
to reach people, to do certain things. But at the same time, my phone doesn't track me. It's not tied to Daniel Shane Maddox. It's You're not able to stop the GPS tracking to some degrees because it's a resonance frequency, so they can always tell where a device is from the satellites. They always know. But the name, my identity, is not tied to it, right? So people need to get a lot more comfortable with technology, which is why I'm taking Mark Passio's skill sharing seminar, How to Become the True Media.
Me too.
Oh, great. We'll be in it together.
Yep, yep. I'm so excited.
And yeah, me too. And they say it's beginner to intermediate.
That's
Um,
where I am.
well, I'd say I'm more intermediate, but then again, it never hurts to rehash what you know. And there's so many new technologies and new things. So even though if it's the same method, the technology being applied to it is much more advanced, much more easier. And what once was more difficult is now easier, even though technically it's the same technology, the
Right.
same process. So I'm really excited about that. I'm really excited about leveling up my game because I know that I'm not doing the best that I could. I know that I'm not producing work at the same level that Mark does,
Exactly. I
And
have a lot of ideas in my head that I want to do, and it's probably the same with you. I've got all these ideas. I write them out. I have what I want to do, and I'm what am I limited by? I don't know how to do it on my computer. So that's why I'm excited for this course because I think it's going to definitely get us in the right direction of learning how to do that to get our ideas into the format that we're trying to.
and what I love about us being on the One Great Network and everything is like we're surrounded by people who are essentially doing all this for free. And
Yep.
we're surrounded by people who care about this more than any monetary compensation, more than any pat on the back, and yet it's beautiful. It's beautiful because, and I keep relating this to The Matrix because that movie is a masterpiece. It is a masterpiece, and the allegory of it is so precise, so on point that I like to think that it's prophetic. This is a prophetic piece of movie magic,
I
and
even like the latest one, the newest one. A lot of people really took a shit on that one, and I loved it. I watched it several times already. I think it really has a lot of great stuff in there if you know what you're looking for and you take your time with it. I thought it was
yeah,
amazing.
it because people are so in love with the first movie, not the second or third. Like those were in order of popularity. It goes from first to
Oh,
last.
for
Like
sure.
first the
Yep.
absolute, and then second worst, third was the worst, and now fourth in most people's mind is the worst. But the reason that it gets such bad publicity is because as the movies progress, they reveal more and more. Um, of the hidden truths,
Yes.
more and more of what's really going on. And because that has been trained out of people, the truth has been rooted away from people by the media, by Hollywood, by the government. They have no taste for it. The first one was good because it was a shoot 'em up, it was a sci-fi mind thriller and all that stuff. But as it got more and more deep, people were more and more lost. And I'm afraid that really is where we're at with a lot of people. But I just keep doing what I'm doing, and you're going to keep doing what you're
Right.
doing. We can't stop. We won't stop because we have a moral responsibility to tell the truth no matter what. Like, I always have this vision of basically the devil's bargain, where the devil is like, just renounce the truth and you'll survive, you'll live, Danny. I'll let you out. I'm on the butcher's block. And that moment of the dark night of the soul, where I just said, I choose the truth. And then I'm decapitated or tortured or whatever. And I'm mentally preparing myself for that end because honestly, it's likely. It's
Yep.
likely that I will die for what I stand for. And that's okay. That's okay. It's sad. It shouldn't have to be this way, but it most likely will be because people are choosing to do nothing when they are clearly required, if they want the world that they say they want to happen. They're required to act. They're required to speak the truth. Speaking the truth is simultaneously the easiest and the hardest thing to do, because what do people fear more than death? Public speaking.
Yep. That's right.
And how did this happen? Why are people so afraid to speak their position? Because it's been beaten out of them. Anybody who spoke up, anybody who spoke out against, hey, the emperor is wearing no clothes, straight to decapitation in front of anybody. Anybody that questions the lie is murdered. And throughout the Dark Ages and throughout all those parts of history where there was so much less freedom than we have now, today really is the best of times. It's the worst of times. It's the tale of two cities. It's We have everything, and yet we've never been closer to losing it all.
Yep.
And people are in such a state of schism where they're just shaking out of their own skin. They're shaking in fear and of everyone. Oh, the Republicans, I go into public restrooms and I see it all that more and more now, like to murder all Republicans, murder all Trumpers, or and then also like democracies and kill all the leftists. And it's like they're being pitted against each other so clearly, so violently in public spaces everywhere now, to a level that was unheard of, unacceptable at any other time. And anybody who doesn't see this escalation clearly happening and just thinks, oh, well, this is how it's always been, or now people are just voicing themselves more. No,
Nope.
now people are more weaponized than ever. People are being shunned and thrust into two camps. There's only two camps. You're either with us or you're against us. And whatever you're with or against doesn't matter. That's just the choice. You cannot be neutral. You cannot have any position, whether it's neutral or not, outside of those two that we have provided for you. It's a false dialectic. It's a false choice paradigm. Okay, it's a Hegelian dialectic. Once you start researching psychology in its dark aspect for manipulation and control, and then you say, where in my life is this dialectic being implemented? Where in my life have I seen this before? Oh, oh, whoa. It's being implemented everywhere, son. Everywhere. Full spectrum dominance. It ain't no joke. It's military grade precision over decades and decades and decades and centuries and millennia. It goes back that far. It goes back further than that. And we can get into, however deep you want, but I like to go back to the Bible, or the story of the Bible, where
Perfect. Yep.
God literally said, don't do this. Then somehow God doesn't know where Adam and Eve are in the Garden of Eden. Where are they? What are they doing? They're acting like normal people. And you'll notice that in the Bible it says that the Nephilim, it's plural. It's the gods.
Yep.
And people want to dismiss this. Oh, it's a mistranslation, and it's like if you really read through the lines, if you read many texts of many different religious doctrines, they all feed into the same command and control structure. They all tell the same story of creation, more or less. And you go back to it, it's all deception. I'm going to put you in a place where there's something very enticing, right? And I'm going to tell you not to do it. And then I'm going to allow a being who has all the worst intentions to somehow slither into this garden and corrupt the mind of one of the other creations, which I created for my first creation, because he wasn't happy because he needed a woman, because he was perfect, and at the same time he wasn't perfect because he needed something else to complete him. And then you start piecing together all the psychological schisms required for this narrative to make any sense if you're an immortal, omniscient, omnipresent being.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't follow. It doesn't follow. Unless God was literally screwing with these people, manipulating like puppets, and just seeing how long it would take for them to break, how long it would take for them to go against his, its, theirs wishes.
Good point.
So this is a psychological warfare operation created around our own, our genesis.
Very
and then
true.
You just extrapolate that to all of history, and simultaneously the powers that be, the powers that shouldn't be, the government, which, gubernare mente, to control the mind control, this is what it means. They tell you they want this, this, and that, and that this is their constraints. That the Constitution is supposed to constrain the government, and now they're using it as toilet paper. Now, literally, Biden goes up there and says, no laws is absolute, no right is absolute. Excuse me? Excuse me, demented old man? Creepy freak up there sniffing every young girl. You look at the thing with Biden putting his hand around his nephew or whatever at the funeral and literally just grabbing him and pushing him up against his body. There's no rational excuse for this. None whatsoever. And yet people will rationalize it. People will say, oh, whatever. They don't want to accept what their eyes are clearly showing them. They are caught. They are under total mind control. And so let's just discuss where do we go from here? How do we address this? Obviously, what you're doing, Rick, is great. Doing these shows, reaching people, having guests on. It's absolutely necessary that we continue to have these conversations. And for my part, it's not enough to just talk about it. It's not. You can't reach the amount of people that are required to be reached by having conversations, however successful, meaningful, and powerful they are in your small friend group. Even going on a stage in public and speaking, that is a much bigger and greater and necessary level, yes. But you must go online. You must become a member of the Nebuchadnezzar. You must join the resistance. And you must start speaking clearly and concisely, and all the time.
Right.
The voice of truth must outweigh the voice of the lie, or the doom of our world is nigh. And that's it.
That's so true. Very powerful. But the problem I find, though, Daniel, is that I think a lot of people know, deep down, I think most people know that we're in problems with the world, and they, to some degree, see what's going on. And then I think a lot of people are taking in this information we're talking about. But what I think we're lacking is what you're saying is the action part, the courage part, to start putting your voice out there. That is where I see the problem. That's where it seems to fall down apart from what I can see. People know there's a problem. A lot of people know what we're talking about, or at least some part of it. I think most people know a little bit about everything we're talking about. I think they have a little bit of knowledge about it, and that's the problem. That's where it breaks down. As I was just saying, is the action part. And I think that people think it's enough to just educate yourself, maybe try to talk to a few of your friends or people around you. But I like what you're saying. You have to get it. You have to find this. You have to find your courage to say enough and to get out there and put your voice out there. And yeah, you're gonna have people that come after you. I'm sure of it, definitely. But that's where courage comes in, and that's what I think we're lacking, amongst a lot of other things. But that's one of the big things I think at this point.
And for me, it's always been something that I can't control. Like I was always the guy, that guy at the party who I killed the whatever good vibes so quick. Like I was the plague. Most of my friends were like the most popular friends in high school, right? And no one else understood why I was that they were friends with me. And I was like hiding around a corner and hear them say, "Why are you friends with Danny? He's literally insane talking about, 9/11 being an inside job. Like he's literally dangerous. We don't
Mm-hmm.
our parents are getting afraid." I heard this again and again, and it's because having the courage to speak the truth or speak up about something that you see is wrong around other people in situations where, you don't feel comfortable or whatever. For most people, they would rather commit suicide than
Yep.
do that because to them it's equated. It's the same thing. It's equivocal.
Mm-hmm.
To speak up in public about a very controversial issues, for most people, it's already like slitting your wrist. It's in their mind, it's the same thing. So for me, courage has been easy because my father was one of the most courageous men I knew. And since day one, instilled in me that government is not your friend, boy. He would pull me aside and said, the government is the enemy. They provide all these things and everything, but they are not here for you. They are here for them.
Yep.
And from a very young age to hear that and then to find out very quickly or even as 9/11 was happening, I'm like, there's something very wrong here. And then finding out very soon after that, like Alex Jones and looking into uh, the darker side of what government is and does. And for the last 20 plus years, it's been a dark, dark road of one mind fuck, to put it that
Yep.
way,
Yep.
after another, where literally my mind is blown and I can't believe it. And my world is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. It's not expanding because for it to expand would be that it's encompassing in a loving space, but it is not loving. It's hatred, it's anger, it's fear, it's violence
Mm-hmm.
being weaponized against us.
Yep.
And so my world got smaller because the people that I would even want to spend time with became smaller and smaller and smaller. Like I stopped watching television altogether when I was 13. And I stopped doing all these things that everybody else was doing. So immediately that separated me from the mainstream. It separated me from the sorcerer spell. It separated from me and therefore allowed me to have a different path of evolution. I evolved out of the system of control and deception. And do I still have aspects of that within me? Yes. We all do. We don't break free from it.
Right.
Our lives are never in completion with the things that we need to do until the very last moment. We have every opportunity to both fall back and to leap forward while we are alive, while we are incarnate. And what you're saying about courage is on point. Just you have to be able to man up, woman up, step into the big boy, big girl shoes, and just say, it's me. I am the one. It's like, I am Spartacus. I am Spartacus. To defend that which is right, to stand up and be willing to be cut down in order to save those who are saving you, to do the right thing, to be able to stand up against authority, the illusion of it. You're basically standing up against the blade at your throat.
Yep.
They put the blade at your throat and say, do what we say or you're going to get cut. And you stand up and say, I'm not going to do what you say. I'm not. I am not. No. It's like that's the lost word. No.
Yep. I
If you
say
can
that
say
all the time.
you are only free if you can say no. Let me say that again. If you can't say no, you're a slave. Period. That's it. Because what is the alternative? What are you if not a slave if you do not have the ability to refuse whatever's being presented to you? And a lot of people will have problems with that because, like, well, we don't have any choice about taxes. Are we slaves? Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
you are, buddy.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, well, you can't say no to death. Are you a slave? And that's actually a good point. You can end your life. Can you live forever? I don't know. There's a lot of people trying. The New World Order sure has, a couple $1 trillion invested in that whole aspect.
Yeah.
Because, and this is a good tie into that, all these devices that they're creating for people to interface with the web, like Meta and all that, the VR and the flicker rates and watching your eyes and the Neuralink project with Elon Musk. I have too many friends who are just head over heels, and they would marry Elon if they could.
I have a friend like that too. Yep.
And it's
Just
like,
wow.
he literally fits the most perfect Batman villain ever. Publicly they have the face of an angel and they're fighting for the right cause and all that. Meanwhile, they're creating, huge weapons systems delivery projects for the military industrial complex and brain chips to control your behavior. And it's like, stop paying attention to what he's saying and presenting and look at what he's actually invested in and doing. It's 101 magic. Look at this, not what's behind my back. And so I want people to be able to realize their power. They have to be able to realize their power and that they're not powerless, and that the government only has as much power as you allow.
Exactly.
If there's more people saying no than yes, the government collapses and shrinks. And your morality, Mark has this shirt, it's beautiful. It's like, the degree to which there's morality in the world is the degree to which you're free, and the degree to which there's no morality is the degree to which you're enslaved. And that's a paraphrase, but that's it. If people are moral people, then freedom is everywhere. It's like, you really want to invest in a system which promises you safety by taking away that which it has no right or even ability to take away, like your right to speak, your right to self-defense, your right to be safe, and for your property to remain your property. All these things, which are inalienable rights, supposedly, allegedly, the government has said before, but is now saying, as Biden just said last week, no right is absolute. They are taking away from us the very notion of rights.
That's so true. And what I find too, Daniel, is that what I've noticed the more I talk to people, and I think another reason, I think you'll agree, that we are at in a way getting our asses kicked, is that I keep noticing that people don't even know the definition of a right. They don't even know what a right is by definition. And I'm like, okay, and so they don't know, then they don't realize what morality is. When you start asking them the definition of that, like it's very, to me, it answers a lot when I talk to people and I just ask them to give me their definition of these words, and they don't even know them. And that's why I keep saying over and over, we're losing our rights so quickly. We're losing morality because people are. How can they defend something they don't even know what it is? And that's why we're losing it. So how do you think? Like, how powerful is that? Do you think that people have to start learning what a right and a wrong is by
It's
definition?
essential.
It's essential. That's what I tell people.
If you don't know the difference between a right or wrong, you are an input output, totally controllable by the things that you believe have authority, which in the case of most people is either government, religion, money. These are their gods.
Yep.
And so long as they have these things well in hand, then truth and morality, right and wrong, these are notions for the damned, for the lost and the confused. Reality has been so inverted for them that, you know, first of all, they couldn't fight their way out of a wet paper bag. They're so defanged they're so helpless. They have learned helplessness. They've been coddled from birth
Yep.
to, everybody gets a trophy. Everybody's a winner. There is no such thing as achievement. Achievement is racist. Uh,
It starts in the school systems. I hit a lot about on that too. I've had Will Keller on talking about conscious parenting, and a few other guests. I've had Jennifer and her husband on, and we get into conscious parenting. And I love how you said that, because I do think that that's where it starts there. You have unconscious parents they're not teaching their kids anything about morality, nature, natural law, right or wrong, and then you send them at a younger and younger ages into be indoctrinated in the schooling system. And I think we have to fix that.
it's a government prison camp for children.
It starts so early too, Court. Wow,
To
Daniel, it starts so early.
call it an educational system is to do a great disservice to the truth, to the reality of it.
Right.
This public school system is a corporate owned indoctrination camp slash prison, which teaches children to lose their identity, lose
Mm-hmm.
their sense of self, be um, broken down so that they react to bells. The bell rings, they get up, they move to a new room. This is the corporate model. This is the work floor model. Oh, lunchtime. Everybody go out, going back down into the lunchroom, cafeteria. Bell rings again. Everybody up, back into it. Can I go to the bathroom? Need to raise your hand to speak,
Mm-hmm.
to do anything. They're training the children to obey authority and
Exactly.
disempowering them at every way possible, so that at the very best they will be a very successful stooge, a very successful salesman. It's like being a doctor. They teach you 15 minutes of nutrition, if that, and then the rest of what you quote unquote learn is rote notation. This pill affects this. If I like the joke of, um, there's that meme with the guy and he's like, straight to jail. Believe it or not, straight to jail. That guy with all his medals. If doctors had to wear a medal for all the pharmaceutical companies that they're beholden to and that they
Oh
get
my
paid
God.
for, they would look like North Korean generals.
Yep.
And then, this pill sponsored by Moderna. I'm getting paid, you know, $5,000 a month to push this pill to these people, knowing full well that it is dangerous and that it only masks the symptoms, does not address the issue here. And this is one of the most aggravating things, is how many people are so beholden, so in love with big pharma, that if you hand them celery juice, they will literally read a 20-page article about the negative effects of celery juice, because they don't trust it, because their doctor didn't prescribe it. And yet they'll take 16 different medications without even thinking for a minute of looking at what the adverse effects are or anything like that. It doesn't cross their mind, because they have already signed their life away to the pharmaceutical giant system. And people will tell me, oh, big pharma, that's big, but what about the military industrial complex? And fool, big pharma rakes in 5 trillion a year or
Yep.
something crazy like that, where the military industrial complex is a fifth of that. So who controls who? Who gives all these soldiers their pharmaceutical drugs, to go do the heinous things that they do to brown people all over the world? And it's like, people can't connect the dots. They can't do it because they were never trained. The school system taught them to be mindless, obedient slaves who just have rote memorization of whatever BS facts that they want you to believe, need you to believe, before you were able to graduate and then get your pittance of a job in which you will be taxed 30 to 50%. And, because you were instilled with family and community and strength, love, and honor, because those things were never on the table for you or me, because those things were like ex-nayed
Yep.
since day one, these people will grow up to be corporate stooges. And what is a corporation? Corpus oration. When the dead speak, And in 2011, when Obama made corporations people, it literally became zombie land. It literally became a world in which corporations are now eternally mortal entities which have only one goal, which is to grow without limit, without interruption, and with all the glory due to them. It's a cult so entrenched in the very idea of, capitalism now that you can't separate the two.
Yep.
Now, I have no problem with capitalism as it was written, but it's never implemented. Never, it can't be, because it's just like communism. In a perfect world, we all work together, yeah, it'd be great. But you're completely discounting psychopathy. You're completely discounting human nature of working for your own self-interest and not wanting to have to work only for others.
Right.
There's a really important book that everyone needs to go read, like right now. It's called Atlas Shrugged.
Atlas Shrugged. Can you send me a link for that after this, and I will
Yeah, it's
definitely
on
put it in the description.
first. Yeah, I can do it.
Thank you so much. I will make sure, guys, I put the link to get that book in the description.
It's free on YouTube. It's literally gold. Ayn Rand wrote it in like the 30s, and it's more prophetic than the Matrix, and in it talks about exactly what we're going through, where the people who are competent and have brains are being enslaved to the people who claim to have a right to be taken care of by the state, and those who can prove the greatest need get the most, even though they produce absolutely nothing, even though they contribute absolutely nothing. They only take, and not only do they take without contribution, they belittle any and all who have competence, have ability. Oh, you're just, how dare you? Like, there's this one scene in the book in which this guy he runs a steel mill and he's with his family, and everyone's incompetent and leeching off of him, and they hate him openly because he's so giving, so loving, and so competent, and they are the eternal victims, every single one of his family members, in their own way, in their own flavor of the ice cream of the day. And he's just like fighting this mental battle where he's like, I'm just trying to create what I love and provide for my family, and my family literally would kill me if they could and just take my money.
Wow.
And because they don't care about me, they only care about what I can provide for them. And that is what all of the society and all the government is being molded into. And it's a really terrible situation that we're not going to get out of unless you do something about it. Yes, you, everyone watching. People like to disassociate and think that I'm just talking to the air, that I'm not talking to you and the person next to you and anyone else that's listening to the show. Anyone within the sound of my voice. This is for you. Rick and I have been making videos for years and doing all this stuff to the best of our ability, and it's only going to get better. But now your turn has come. Yours. And step into that. Step into it with all the fear. Let all the fear and anxiety wash over you for about 3 seconds. Then you turn on your inner superhero. You turn on your inner psychopath, the one that just will complete what your mission is, no matter what the cost be damned, so long as it's within the boundaries of truth, love, and freedom. I don't want to say, you go murdering people, but
Right.
you will step into a state of being in which nothing will stop you. Nothing will get in the way of you and that which you are here to do. You would not have reached this moment. You would not have come to this interview with Rick and I if you weren't one of the chosen ones. If you weren't here for something greater than whatever your life has amounted to thus far. Do you hear that? Do you feel that? Do you see and feel and hear what I'm communicating to you? And this is not only anger that I'm communicating, because obviously there's anger in my voice because I am resentful to what I have lost, to the things that I've had to give up in order to do what is right. And it wouldn't have had to have been that much at all. And I'm not saying it was even that much, but it was still enough for me to have resentment over it. it's still worth it for me. But if a lot more people got in the game, if a lot more people stepped up to the plate and said, I will contribute to truth, love, and freedom in your own way. I'm not saying you have to do a long form conversation podcast like Rick and I do or whatever. They're all roads lead to freedom when that is your focus. When, you could be making flower videos and just snipping flowers and working in your garden and then singing lullabies of freedom and hashtag truth, love, and freedom. Hashtag, 9/11 was an inside job. Whatever it is, whatever avenue, we need you. We need your special flair. We need your special skills. We need the unique and infinite you to step out of the pathetic, weak, insignificant version of yourself, which you've allowed yourself to become. Or, for those of you who think that you're less than or not capable, drop that shit at the door.
Yep.
Just drop it, because it's getting in the way of you, me, Rick, and everyone else from getting to a state of total freedom. If we can defeat the New World Order here and instill in humanity the means by which we have always been enslaved, i.e. government, i.e. the idea of authority, religion, money, if we can allow people to see that, because everybody saw Hitler was wrong and that the genocides was wrong and everything that they did with the Stasi, that was wrong, but they don't understand the mechanisms. They don't understand the means, and this is why we keep going back to Hollywood. It is a technological weapon created as such. Television was created by the military, more or less.
I was going to ask you about that. That's what my research led me. That was definitely military that had their hands all over it.
Anything having to do with high technology has been controlled by the government since day one. And then people will say, oh, you keep saying the government, and don't you mean the United States government? And like, what about Sweden? What about Germany? What is their government? It's like, you don't understand what we're saying. This is the problem. You think I'm talking about a specific government.
Yep.
Not just talking about the United States. I'm not just talking about North Korea or China or Russia.
All governments.
I'm talking about all governments. That's right, Rick. And that's a really hard pill to swallow, because instantly that means all the institutions that humanity has grown up with are not good for humanity, which means huge, massive, unconscionable change must occur. And that is why what we're doing is called the one great work. Freeing humanity is not a side hustle. Freeing humanity is not just some little gig that you do to get some extra spending money or some street cred. Because believe me, there's little to no money to be had in the, the talismanic sense.
Right.
That money is a talisman. Money means God, Mon I, the one eye, the one, the unity, the what do I have it on my dollar bill here? That's a 5. So look, yeah, the one eye at the top of the pyramid there, that is the one eye, the undivided, the sense of unity. And then people will go, the Freemason, yeah, they created all this. This is their talisman. Okay? And it's been corrupted, as all the secret societies have been corrupted, because the thing about the powerful is they recognize where the centers of power are. And they do a very good job. Look at the agents of the New World Order as like master sorcerers and rogues.
Mm-hmm.
If you play video games, they're rogues and they're master sorcerers. They got the dialogue tree, this the charisma and all that, and the sneak skill and all that. They've maxed that out. They've maxed it out by being able to sneak into all these institutions, figuring out who has the power, corrupting them over the time. And then it's like that one television show. What was it, like Lucifer? Whatever, it's the good angel and the bad angel, and they're basically like buddies and talking about it the whole time. And the agents of the devil are like, we have corrupted the priest, and in 10 years we will have him. And it's like, oh, we've corrupted the politician, and in 5 years we will have him. And what they mean is they've planted the seed They've set into motion the things required for these people to become agents, whether willingly or unwillingly, of the project, of their one great dark work.
Right.
Our job is to illuminate. We are the true Illuminati. We are trying to shed light on the true darkness which has blanketed reality and which is forcing people to believe that which is not true and to refuse that which is. And that is the most dangerous place to be, ladies and gentlemen, because when you're in that state, you're being led like there's just a snack in front of the animal. And it's like, when they have the dog running or whatever, and they're chasing after the thing that's right in front of them, and they're just running, bolting forward towards it recklessly. And they don't understand that it's a trick. They don't understand that there's no way to actually attain the thing that's being dangled in front of them, that it's an illusion, that it's there for them to provide entertainment, to provide an outcome, to provide a venue for very powerful people to come together and bet. It's like that movie, Switching Sides or whatever, with Eddie Murphy, where they switch places. There's just
Trading places.
trading places. And the two rich guys are just like, yeah, I bet you this will happen. And the other guy's like, no, I'll bet you this will happen. And they don't actually care one iota how it turns out. And the money that they'll win or lose, they don't care. It's just a game to them. It's a game because they consider it a game. And you can reason this out quite well. If you're born in a state of obscene luxury, very, very quickly, if not right away, all the little things, all the little joys that most children grow up loving, like walking in the forest and playing with the animals and, engaging with the elements and being loved by their parents, those things were meaningless from the get-go. And the only thing that brought them joy, the only thing that allowed them to have a sense of control over their lives, because they're born into a cult of madness, is control.
That's
And
so true.
And so that is their only good feeling at all. And so that is what they've maximized. That is what they have centered all their wealth and power and prestige around. If I can control the minds of everyone in one country, then I have clout. Then I have respect with the other members of the cult. Then I'm a lot safer than anyone else in my position. Because I was born into this, and I was told I have no way out. Believe what you want about Princess Diana, but she was sacrificed, and I could tell she wasn't one of them. She was born into it, but she actually could care. She actually had a soul, and that's why they had to erase her. That's why they had to bring her down in a king killing ritual, just like JFK, so that the family could gain more power and more prestige and love from the people because their beautiful young daughter was cut down, murdered, you know. And they
Wow.
do this again and again. Anyone that's born into the family that has any clout with the people in a way that detracts from the power of the cult, detracts from the power of the state, which they control, is finds themselves in an unfortunate end. And again and again and again and then oh, they would never do that to their own family. It's like you're not hearing me.
Yep.
They don't have the capacity to care. They would slit their mother's throat and do unspeakable things.
Yeah, and not
And
even
not
lose a moment's sleep. Not lose a moment's sleep.
but people can't imagine it because they've been conditioned in a Disneyland world, even though in Disney movies there's these horrible, horrible people, like in Aladdin, for instance, Jafar, the
Mm-hmm.
Sorcerer Supreme, who literally took over almost an entire nation by himself with a little parrot, which was his minion, just parroting back to him what he wanted and doing what he wanted, and using all this witchcraft and spells and everything. And he just wanted to keep upgrading his power and he didn't care about anything. And they're explaining to you the psychology. They're explaining to you all these deeper truths while also selling you the hypersexualization of children and getting it in their minds. And see, because Any good illusion will have a grain of truth, or mostly truth, and then just a grain of the lie that is required. They can sell you 90% good, but that 10% evil is the seed that will supplant eventually the other 90%. And then as people become less and less moral, they can up the ante and say 80% good, 20% bad, 30% bad, 40% bad, until it's all bad and people believe that that's normal, that that's good.
That's
You see how that works?
exactly what they're doing. Fuck.
It's spoon feeding you the poison until eventually you need the poison and you think the poison is actually the medicine. It's
Wow.
just like Atlas Shrugged when Tom Hanks's character. It's interesting how Tom Hanks keeps showing up, in all these movies, which actually explain so much of the world. And you'll notice that he's almost always in every movie in a position of taking care of children, which is, its own subject. And people will say that he's a pedophile or whatever and stuff like that. And I don't know that that is true. But I certainly know that Hollywood is filled with pedophilia. I certainly know that Hollywood is filled with these sorcerers. I'm not just pretending to believe this. I can see it with my own eyes. You just look at all these Lindsay Lohan and Britney Spears, all these young, beautiful people that are literally raped and drugged up out of their minds and then just have psychotic breaks because the system is meant to use and abuse them and then spit them out. And then comes in the new hot ticket, the new hot item, the new innocence, which will be corrupted. And then through that innocence being corrupted on television, the innocence of the world will be corrupted. And on and on and on it goes. It's a song that never ends, my friend, until we shut it down, until we break their signal, and until we break free from the madness which they have spoken into the world and which so many people now believe inaccurately and wrongly to be true.
Wow, that's so powerful, Daniel. Thank you so much. I was just looking at the time. Wow, I could talk to you for hours. I mean, amazing. Thank you so much. Before I wrap this interview up, though, Daniel, and I want to first let you know that you're always welcome back to come and talk. I would love to have you back on. Maybe get you live on the radio show for sometime to
That
talk
would be
about.
great.
Yeah, to talk about all these things. I would love to get you back on. So definitely we'll make that happen. Before I let you go, can you let everybody know where they can find your work, where you're located, like all the anything they need to know where to go and find the information that you're putting out.
Absolutely. You can find me on my website, DanielShaneMaddox.com. That's DanielShaneMaddox.com. There I have my other websites listed, my TikTok channel, Empowered Youths, my Instagram channel, Sunlaw_D, my YouTube channel, which is Rejuvelation. So rejuvenate and elation combined into one word. And also, I'd like to let everybody know that, I don't just make these videos. I'm also working on other things. I have a book in the works that I've written and is now being edited. It's basically high science fiction fantasy. I call it future history because I basically extrapolate everything that I know that the New World Order wants to achieve and create these stories around individuals, which extrapolates further the discussion about right and wrong. The whole book series that I'm writing, which is called Resonance Born from Resonance, is about right and wrong. And, Mark Passio has a part in it, kind of. Basically, I'm not just tooting my own horn. I'm not just pretending that I care about these things. I've spent the last 2 years, from the very beginning of the pandemic, for 2 years straight, I wrote 2,000 words a day in
Wow.
these books. And now I have a novel which is about 500 pages long. It was originally 1,000. I had to,
Condense it.
collate it, boil it down and everything. And my editor is just like, this could be several books. And it's my first step into writing. I've always written. In fact, the first book that I wrote was called Defined Reality when I was 13. made absolutely no sense, really. I mean, it was just drivel, but that showed you where my mind was at. As a 13-year-old boy, I write a 50-page book about defining reality. So maybe that can help you get a grip on who I am and what I've been about for a very, very long, more than half of my life, probably all of my life, because I was sent here. I have a mission, and I don't know the details, and I don't need to know, and then that doesn't matter. What I know is that since the day I was born, the truth of things and justice have been all that I care about and have worked towards. So, with that, Rick, thank you so much for having me, and I will definitely be on again. Thank you for your work, and thank you for the opportunity to speak with your audience.
You're very welcome, my friend, and definitely take care. And I will definitely keep in touch with you, and
Okay.
have some more great conversations. And we'll get you on for sure. I'm sure after this, I'm going to have a lot of questions that I want to ask you. So I definitely want to have you back to continue this, and keep doing the great work, Daniel, because you're doing amazing stuff. And I'm looking forward to that book. I love reading. So as soon as I can get that book, let me know.
I will. And also, the book is not for sale. I do not engage in commerce. Um, this is a passion project. This is an educational outreach project. So my book will be available as a gift in exchange for a voluntary donation. I am moving completely away from the system of control and from the system of slavery, which is what the government is. And for me to say, I accept taxation in general, or I accept that I need to ask the government for permission to do whatever I'm doing, or I need to give them a cut of whatever, it's like you have to step away from the system.
Right.
There's no tearing the system down. They have all the machine guns and laser guided missiles in the world to tear you down and to obliterate you if you're going to try to tear down their system. The only hope is to expose the system for what it is and just step back, step away, and say no. And if that doesn't work, if they're really going to push it to the end, come and take it. No is the lost word, and come and take it. Come and take my life because you can't have it. That's the lost word, or the
100%.
last word. I think I had those reversed. The lost word is no, and the last word is come and take it. So
Exactly.
that's what I'll leave you with, Rick, and your audience. And I already know you're doing a great job.
Thank you so much, Daniel, and I will definitely keep in touch. Make sure you keep putting out the great work and doing the great work, and I will definitely be looking forward to seeing what you have coming up in the future.
Thank you.
All right, take care, my friend.
Okay. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Well, there we have it. Such a powerful interview, guys. I really did enjoy having Daniel on. I've been looking forward to this interview. It's taken a couple weeks to actually, it's taken about a month to get this interview up and going. So I'm so happy that it could be done. I was really excited after I started watching his content. I was watching it on YouTube, and then as I was saying, I came across so many of his videos that are amazing, and a lot of them are little short hits, like I said, but I think they're so powerful. And that's amazing to me. That's a talent in itself, being able to do a little short clip, but really make it impactful. And I think that is an amazing way to do it because, as I was saying earlier, a lot of people don't have a big attention span. And so, they won't put the time in to watching a long interview or a long presentation. So the little short hits are amazing. And when I came across his Sorcerers of Hollywood, and it's about an hour long, it was amazing. And I had to get him on. I just to talk to him, and I just really enjoyed this conversation with him and breaking down what's going on in this world. So I hope you guys enjoyed it too. I want to thank you guys so much for, as I said at the beginning of this, I thank you so much, guys, for checking out these videos, coming to my channel. It means so much to me. If you enjoy radio, I'm definitely doing that too, as you guys all well know. Just go to Revolution Radio. You can get there at freedomslips.com. and I'm on every Monday evening from 6 till 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I'm in Studio A. So, like I said, freedomslips.com. I'll make sure I leave a link in the description, so if you guys want to check it out and you're a fan of radio, lots of great interviews going on there too, and we cover so many important topics. So I hope you guys check that out. Also, before I go, just want to let you guys, let me see if I can actually get that up. There we go. Just want to let you guys know that on September 10th and 11th, we have Convergence, and that is freedomundernaturallaw.com, funnel 2. And this is going to be amazing. So many amazing speakers are going to be doing presentations, and it's going to be a great thing. I hope you guys all go and check it out. Just go to, like I said, freedomundernaturallaw.com to register at it. It's a free event. It's online, so no excuses. Make sure you guys go and check it out. So many great speakers on there, and they're going to be covering so many important things. So I really do hope you guys go and check it out. And, check out Funnel 1 too. You can definitely go and check that out. Lots of great, I met so many great people from Funnel 1, and the information that they're putting out is just incredible. So definitely check it out, guys. It's worth your time, and I would highly recommend it. So just wanted to bring that up to you guys. And just remember, stay safe, guys. Keep putting out the great work. Start putting the great work out. Start getting your voice out there, because it's, as we were talking about, and Daniel said, we're at that point now, at that tipping point. And I think this is where people really have to start getting some skin in the game and putting their voice out there, saying no, saying that lost word, no, enough is enough, and put the word out there. So definitely, I hope you guys have a great week. Stay safe, take care of each other, and I will be definitely bringing a lot more great interviews coming up. I have lots of great guests that I have interviews planned with. So just, hit the like, hit the subscribe button, the notification button, just so you guys get notifications when I'm posting these interviews, because if you're enjoying these, I would love for you to make sure you get those notifications, and that would be great, guys. So take care, stay safe, and I'll be seeing you guys very soon. Peace, guys.
Are you interested in the paranormal, murder mysteries, cryptocurrency, and thought-provoking interviews? Then check out Crypt Rick's I've Been Thinking on YouTube, or every Monday night at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Studio A at Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. Welcome to the Crypt.